and the best. Insist on total quality management of cutting fluids. That is exactly what Mobil does. Way back before governments got involved, Mobil built a world-class toxicology lab in Princeton, set very strict environmental and health standards for our products and our entire corporation, developed a system for simultaneously and efficiently running 7 acute skin irritation tests to protect your workers, and that protects your business. Labeled the products so they can be used safely any place in the world. Then we went one more step, challenging our researchers to come up with water-soluble emulsions, which actually starve out bacteria. They came back with Aqua Row, a bio-resistant, synthetic, soluble oil. It's a powerful coolant with a remarkably mild pH, and it is death on bacteria because it doesn't give them a scrap of food to grow on. Aqua Row is a stable metalworking fluid with extremely long life. It can be recycled and discarded using conventional methods designed to protect the environment.
Diese Maschine arbeitet bis zu 100 of a millimeter.
The old-style emulsions offered high production, offset by real problems. Water saturated with additives could not be segregated. It was poisoning the lubrication system, the life support system of a fortune in high-production tools.
Die größten Schwierigkeiten wir haben, ist wieder unterbrechen. Wir haben immer zu viel unterbrechen.
The universal complaint is downtime. One way to handle the problem is to use one oil. Just one, a sophisticated cutting oil with a package of additives, which will give you anti-weld, good cooling, very good lubricity, and which you could use with confidence in the lubricating system of the machine, because it is also the best lubricant you can buy. It is also the most expensive barrel for barrel. And that point keeps coming up again and again.
Expensive always sounds like a threat, but you don't know how much something really costs until you look at the total system. Suppose you did use just one oil. One oil designed for heavy-duty cutting and high-speed work. The same oil lubricating the machines. Just one reservoir, one settling tank for chips. Magnetic filtration to draw out the smallest bits of metal. A closed system where you top off the reservoir and recirculate almost every drop. You see, not everyone understands what expensive really means. Expensive is sitting on a purchasing committee with your disposal expert telling you that you can't buy a particular cutting fluid because you can't afford to get rid of it. Expensive is the worker who's out for 6 weeks with dermatitis because your cutting fluid is growing bacteria. Expensive is the man who won't wash up with the right soap, likes to clean up fast, which only makes things worse. The most expensive worker in the place is the one who thinks that barrier creams are for wimps, and he stuffs his pockets with metal fines a dozen times a day. Expensive is regrinding, rusting, staining, rejecting, and reworking when none of it was really necessary.
It may be time for a change. It is definitely the time to analyze your cutting operations, to let Mobil engineers specify cutting fluid systems which are better for your money machines and better for people. Mobil engineered both parts of the equation because you and we are going to be doing business for a long, long time.
Modern cutting fluids, Can bang. Just in time. Total quality. Nowadays, much more than work and machines, companies are looking for efficiency. The greatest competition is taking place in the areas of productivity and creativity. Third wave companies, companies of the third generation, books and more books, theories, ideas. We are in the era of detail. In the dispute for the market, every bit of savings made today makes a world of difference. To an ever greater degree, time is money. For this reason, companies are seeking solutions, products just as modern as all these questions. Products that help to reach ever more rigorous specifications, that help gain fractions of seconds, that stand for efficiency, versatility, quality. In metalworking processes, this is what is sought the most. And in order to get precision and speed, the processing oils are becoming more and more important. And advanced technology is being used in their development. Rolling oils, quenching oils, rust preventers, and cutting fluids. The modern cutting fluids provide great savings in several different industrial operations. Turning, milling, drilling, gear generation, tapping, broaching, honing, grinding. The characteristics of each operation must be analyzed to determine the proper fluid. Turning is the least severe cutting operation, even though the cutting edge is exposed to heat a great deal. Here, the heat is easily removed by the cutting fluid, which removes the chips from the cutting area. Milling is a slightly more severe operation that requires a different fluid. Due to the vibration, shocks, and the finishing, the greatest concern is the cooling, besides the need for a certain amount of lubrication. In drilling, it is not as easy for the fluid to penetrate into the cutting area. For this reason, the correct cutting fluid must have low viscosity and good lubrication qualities. In gear generation, there is a great shock when the tool comes into contact with the gear's teeth. Controlling the chips and the formation of a built-up edge are the greatest difficulties. For this reason, the fluid must have good anti-weld properties that control the buildup and high lubricating power to protect the tool against rapid wear. For tapping, good lubrication and anti-weld characteristics. This is what the severity of the operation requires of the cutting fluid. It is difficult to protect the small teeth from excessive wear, from burning, or from being destroyed. This is an extremely severe cutting operation. During broaching, each of the tool's cutting teeth is in constant contact with the workpiece, penetrating more and more. It is not easy for the fluid to reach the cutting area because of chips that accumulate between the piece and the tool's tip. In broaching, the cutting fluid must have maximum lubricating and anti-weld properties to protect the teeth and guarantee both precision and a fine finish. Honing is a special operation. A typical example is the internal finishing of engine cylinder walls. Honing always requires cutting fluids that have been specially developed for these operations. Used in the final process in order to give the surface a fine finish, grinding requires special cutting fluids. Cutting fluids save the tools. They reduce wear and increase their lifetime. They permit higher production speeds with better finishing, greater productivity, and less rejection of parts. Looking at the details of metal cutting techniques will demonstrate the importance of a good cutting fluid. The key element is here, the tool's action. Be it simple with a single cutting edge or a complex multi-cutting tool, the risk of wear, errors, losses has to be removed or reduced. This tool with one cutting edge is a good example. The pressure on the entire tool is not uniform. Here, exactly here, near the cutting edge, it is much greater, right where the layer of fluid is thinner. The result, the wear is accentuated. Exactly the opposite of those areas where there is less pressure and more fluid, and therefore less wear. To lubricate a system like this one is a challenge. The movement of the chips carries the fluid away from the cutting area, and this is the point at which another element comes up. The built-up edge. It is made up of pieces of the chips that weld themselves to the edge of the tool, placing themselves between the tool and the part. The built-up edge helps the tool, working as a protection, as long as this occurs at the right measure. Yet it hinders the work when it becomes excessively large. Cutting fluids with the correct components ensure these controls. For example, it must have anti-weld additives in the exact proportion. A small amount makes the built-up edge become too large, increasing the wear of the tool and the risk of a poor finish of the workpiece. An excessive amount of anti-weld additives eliminates the built-up edge, causing the tool to wear out prematurely. The answer can be found in the right lubrication, good finishing in the cutting operations. A minimum wear of the tool demands a cutting fluid with a correct balancing of additives, a subject that requires the advice of a specialist. The diversity of operations requires multiple solutions that meet different demands. The grinding operation needs specific analysis. Here, the thousands of cutting edges on the grinding wheel also wear down. And when this occurs, the pressure on them increases, breaking many, thus reducing the tool's abrasive function. On the other hand, under certain conditions, metallic particles can stick to the grinding wheel. It becomes dark and needs to be dressed. Mobil has a wide variety of cutting fluids for all kinds of applications. Straight oils, soluble oils, semi-synthetic fluids, and synthetic fluids. The straight oils are petroleum byproducts and can be mixed with fatty, chlorated, sulfurated compounds, or with a mixture of these, depending on the cutting operation. The soluble oils are mineral oils with additives, to be mixed with water. The semi-synthetic fluids contain a small amount of mineral oil and are mixed with water. They contain lubricating additives and can also contain other types of additives. The synthetic fluids do not contain mineral oil, and when mixed with water, form a solution with the right amount of lubricating additives, and may or may not contain others. It is important to point out that the choice of the correct cutting fluid should be made by a specialist. It depends on the type of operation, the type of machinery, the tool's characteristics, the material being machined, the type of piece, the precision required, and the machining conditions. In order to meet the needs of modern industry, Mobil has state-of-the-art laboratories around the world, working on the development of cutting fluids that meet the rigid requirements of metal cutting operations and specifications. Cutting fluids that improve quality and increase productivity, and also respect man and his environment.
Is this the place you work, Dad? Great, isn't it?
This is my machine.
How beautiful!
Wanna take a look?
As a result of the respect Mobil has for the environment and for mankind, confidence in the product is born, and confidence stands for quality. This is what a good cutting fluid must provide. better performance in production, greater safety in production, greater safety in operations. But the quality of the product also depends on how it is used. Mobil recommends periodic monitoring of the cutting fluids to accompany their conditions. Through periodic analyses, it is possible to identify problems, make corrections, thus reducing the operational cost of an entire system. Highly qualified engineers and technicians, trained in lubrication engineering. They are part of Mobil's Cutting Fluids program that helps companies to reduce their manufacturing costs. Knowing well every process, having the correct fluid for each operation, and offering continuous orientation, the engineers and technicians at Mobil have a permanent commitment to achieve longer tool life, less machine preparation, lower maintenance costs, lower metal costs, fewer rejected parts, lower expenses on cutting fluids, and greater productivity.
In any machining operation, management's objective is lowest unit cost. This usually means higher production from existing equipment. Many variables affect production: the machine, the tools, the setup, the work metal, and cutting oils. The right cutting oil can extend tool life, improve finish and size control, and permit faster machining. These advantages can be achieved with Mobil's new series of cutting oils, Mobilmet Greeks. For maximum production with any cutting oil, you must find the optimum balance between tool replacement downtime and machine speed. To find the optimum balance on this operation, Mobil ran tests at various machining speeds. Our camera will speed up the film to show the tests at 40 times actual speed. Our highest machine speed required tool grinding after producing only one gear, resulting in frequent tool changes, lost production time, and increased tool costs. Optimum balance results in higher production if the cutting oil gives longer tool life at higher speeds. Highest production was obtained in these tests at 10 gears per tool grind. Regardless of production rate, parts must pass inspection for finish and tolerance. Finish can be spoiled by both insufficient lubricity, which allows the tool to rub on the work or to chatter, and by insufficient anti-weld, which permits pieces of excess built-up edge to scratch the work. Tolerance losses are caused by tool wear and by excess or uneven heating of the work. Tool wear can be reduced by improved lubricity, which also reduces heat. And controlled anti-weld permits just enough built-up edge to protect the tool from wear. Thus, proper lubricity and controlled anti-weld make it easier to hold finish and size, reducing rejects. In their search for a better way to make cutting oils, Mobil scientists made slow-motion films of metal cutting, which enable them to observe in detail what actually happens when metal is cut. Of particular interest were the wear on the cutting edge and the friction between the work and the tool and the chip in the tool. The unique and patented additive system in Mobilmet Greek cutting oils gives superior lubrication at these points and actually adjusts its anti-weld activity to the needs of both the operation and the metal. The result? Mobilmet can increase production efficiency up to 30%, provide up to 60% longer tool life, improve finish and size control, and enable faster cutting speeds. To study the formation and effect of built-up edge, Mobil first photographed the dry machining of ductile metal. Here you see the metal buildup on the cutting edge, the result of chip particle welding under high pressure and heat. As it grows, it forces the cutting further into the work, spoiling the finish and increasing heat. When the built-up edge breaks off, part of it is carried away on the chip, while other parts are forced between the tool and the work, scratching the finish. A characteristic sawtooth finish caused by built-up edge is clearly visible. Mobil scientists were also able to observe the effects of the new Mobilmet additive system on built-up edge and on finish. When Mobilmet is applied, its lubricity and anti-weld features take immediate effect. Built-up edge is reduced to a small, constant size not visible here, but just enough to protect the tool. Now the finish is smooth and the job is cooler and can run faster. Tool life, speed, and finish are improved. But the superiority of the Mobilmets had to be proved against other cutting oils. Conventional cutting oil was used on this tap. It seized in a test which measures the torque exerted by the tool on the work. This was part of the laboratory phase of Mobil's extended tests of the new Mobilmet formulations. When Mobilmet was used under the same conditions, tapping was easy, torque was low. In the drilling test shown in this speeded-up film, conventional cutting oil is on the left and Mobilmet is on the right. Both are being used under the same conditions. After drilling 14 holes, the tool using conventional oil needed grinding, while the tool protected by Mobilmet was still in good condition. In one of the many production tests at a customer's plant, Mobilmet showed its ability to increase production rate. For example, automatic screw machines had been able to produce a maximum of 50 parts per hour with conventional cutting oil. When a Mobilmet Greek oil was put into service, it enabled an increase in speed, boosting production rate to 60 parts per hour, a 20% increase. Because its anti-weld activity adjusts to the needs of the job, Mobilmet has an extremely wide range of applications. Our field tests conclusively proved the superiority of Mobilmet Greek cutting oils on many metals, such as nickel-chromium steels, heat-resistant steels, copper alloys, and light alloys. The Mobilmet Greeks also proved superior in a wide range of operations. A good example is numerically controlled equipment where only one oil is used. Here Mobilmet makes the toughest operation less limiting without jeopardizing tool life on easier cuts. But don't take our word for it. Here's what Mobilmet Greek cutting oil users are saying. A manufacturer of pulleys uses Mobilmet Sigma. We experienced not only a better finish on the parts, but a 10% increase in tool regrind intervals. A hand tool manufacturer using Mobilmet Omega stated, a 14% increase in tool life effected yearly savings of $3,240 on one machine alone. Mobilmet Gamma is being used by a pipe fitting manufacturer. A 58% increase in production rates was experienced with the same tap life, plus a 20% increase in reamer parts per grind. A screw machine company using Mobilmet Omicron found that tool life was doubled, plus realizing cooler parts and lower bulk oil temperature. Another screw machine company uses Mobilmet New. Tool life increased 300%. Plus an increase in production of 68%. Whatever your cutting needs, Mobilmet Greek oils with their exclusive additive system will provide superior lubricity and controlled anti-weld. Increase your tool life. Improve finish and size control.